Good evening, people. Thank you for coming. My name is Humayun, for those who don't know me.
You can't hear, sir. Mike. Mike.
I'll try and be a little louder. So my name is Humayun, for those who don't know me. I've been a member of the BSAP now for about 30 plus years. And today's talk, I'm hoping to explain the importance of waterfall counts or animal counts or bird counts as a tool to conservation. Because, how does counting 100 animals or 200 animals or 500 animals, how does it link up to conservation as a whole? And then we'll wind up with a little bit about the specifics of the waterfowl census, which is something that is, that happens every year. Okay, so starting with this, this is basically what I'm hoping to cover, an introduction of the reasons and the methods of animal census. How can the data that is gathered be useful or can be used as a tool? Is the screen clear to people? Or maybe
Yes, screen is clear.
Okay, so why? Why count animals? Why count birds? One of the things, I think the reasons we are seeing it even now, how many tigers are available in the country today. It's a tool whereby if I know what kind of populations I'm looking at, I can formulate plans or strategies for better protection. I can formulate whether the species is not doing too well or doing too well. Conservation strategies which have already been implemented, whether they're working, whether they're not working, all this information, all these details can be answered through animal and bird counting techniques. Okay, this is the importance of wildlife census. Knowing the number and density of wild animals, like I said, it's very important for ecology and management. When I was in South Africa, this was something that was done every 6 months, particularly for the large herbivores, and there used to be huge populations. We're talking close to 500,000 animals and so on. This was an ongoing exercise, used to happen every 6 months. Okay. To establish and appraise management practices, the managers must estimate the size of the wildlife population. Now the word estimate here is the key. Sometimes it's not easy to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you have to estimate. Again, there are scientific rationale to estimate. I'm not going to go into that, but we'll probably cover that as we go along a little further. The third point is basically it's difficult to understand. It's difficult to count animals and birds accurately, particularly animals, because they have these hiding places. They'll jump behind a rock. I don't know if there's 1 there or 10 there. There's a rattlesnake which crawls into a small hole. You put your hand inside and about 25 come out. So you've got to think about that as well. Okay. So we'll go on. This is what happens closer to home. Around here, around AP, around India, we have the annual tiger census operations. They're done by Project Tiger and the Wildlife Management and Wildlife Institute of India. And of course our animal census operations in places like Chilkur. I think a lot of us have done that. Fatsab, if I'm not wrong, BSAP has been involved in that quite a lot. And then of course bird races. I know we don't count how many birds we see, but we do count species. So again, that's another form of census. Bird census operations in national parks, and of course the midwinter waterfowl census, which is what we'll be talking about. My specific reference will be to that. If I'm going too fast, please stop, or feel free to interrupt and ask questions if you have any. Okay. How do we count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 100, 200, 500. There are different methods. You have completed total counts or incomplete counts. The word census implies a total count, complete, 100%. And the word count basically means you are estimating. It's an incomplete process, right? So that's pretty much it. I'll move a little further. You want me to go back? You want me to go back?
What is incomplete count, you said?
Incomplete counts are basically you do a certain amount of the entire study area and then you extrapolate. It's like if we take a live example yesterday when we went to Sanjeevayappa, we just did a small edge. Then we can extrapolate it to cover the entire lake. That's how it is.
So, but in complete count also there is an element of estimation. You can't go one by one and count all the limits.
So you're looking at a place which is small and you can cover the entire area. That's what complete count is. Okay?
It's more about geographical area.
Yeah, geographical area.
But the estimation is there in both.
Estimation, certain amount of estimation will be there. Okay. Techniques. These are the important points. There is what is known as transects. Now there are two types of transects. They can be point transects or they can be line transects. This is the line transect, this part, A and B. You take a straight line, just walk straight along the line, just counting as you go. Right? And the other is what is known as point transects. You have that. So you will start at one, maybe spend 10-15 minutes, you will cover maybe about this area. Then you go to 2, you cover maybe about that area and so on and so forth. As you go down, you cover the maximum part of whatever of the area that you are trying to cover. Now this is not standalone technique. You can do a combination of both. You will most probably do a combination of line as well as point as you go. And it's the easiest and probably the most, shall we say, user-friendly way if you want to call it that. Okay, that's basically just a little bit on what they are. Important, the interesting thing is this, the marine system. That can be, shall we say, extended to include water birds as well, water animals. Okay, so this is one.
So I have a question.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if the birds are on the ground,
Yeah,
on the land, then you can count them. But if they are flying in the air,
if they're flying in the air, we'll come to that little further. You'll get that as we go. Okay, this is what is known as direct counts. One is full count and the other is percentage count. Full count is something like this. You have a small place, you cover the entire. You're able to count. You can basically stand there and count 1, 2, 3, 4 as the case may be. The other is percentages. You count maybe a certain percent, 20%, 25%, 30%, and then you extrapolate it over the area. But you need to be a little careful when you're extrapolating, because if there are any factors which limit the extrapolation, you've got to mention those. You've got to keep those in mind. For example, I'll take Hussain Sagar. Most of the birds are seen around the edges. So if I say I've seen 100 birds there, which is 10% of the lake, and if I say then based upon that I should see 1,000 birds because I extrapolate, it doesn't work that way. Because for the most part, Hussain Sagar Lake has got quite a few barren areas. The birds don't congregate. So that's just an example. Those are the factors that you have to mention when you're talking about percentage counts.
Even in percentage count, the area that we are counting is a full count area.
The area that you're counting, it becomes a full
Full count area.
But because it's part of a whole, it's only a percentage that you have to that you're going to be working with.
a part of the whole in the sense of uncovered
Uncovered areas. There are certain areas in the whole thing that I'm not able to cover. I'll only cover maybe 10% of the thing or 20% of the thing. I have 50 birds here, so 20% is 50, so 100% is going to be 500. Something like that.
You apply corrections.
Yeah, you apply the thing. But like I said, you've got to be careful. You have to mention if there are any factors that may not be conducive to the extrapolation. If the water is very deep, for example, you won't have anything. If if the water is extremely shallow, you won't have it. Vice versa. So that's basically that you need to think a little. Okay. This is fairly easy, counting flocks. I go there and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fine, that's an actual count. Even that, I can probably, count 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, 25, 30, as the case may be. Fair enough, simple, pretty simple, pretty ordinary. Then you have this. It's a little bit more difficult, but still not impossible. I can see maybe 400 birds here. I mean, the exact number in this particular photograph is actually 519, but I counted.
Manually?
Yes, I counted.
Okay, I want to ask one interesting. By taking a video or a photograph of this, can you apply some software which can count exactly what it is?
I don't know if there is any such software. Is there?
I'm just throwing out a thought.
What you can do, it's the one thing you can do is leave it at color, and you might still be able to make out a little. But I don't think there's any software that can be used specifically to count. Or there may be.
Extrapolating from my own profession, earth science, there are things called point counters. They're semi-mechanical. I don't know if they've got computerized, but we used to do that mineral count.
Yeah, so maybe
Under the microscope you put it, and then you have a device where you go on pressing the button.
right.
Supposing you have a mixed crowd here, so you give number 1 to one, number 2 to the other species, number 3 like that. They're available.
Right.
I think some such thing might be available, and if not, we can even design
I'm
it.
sure we can probably
Have a grid pattern, and then particularly if you have, say, multiple species in the same
Right.
place.
Right. Okay.
There is some hardware which is available between 2 years and behind 2 months that you can apply. You can sit and count.
You can sit and count that. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Humayun, there is also another way of doing it, where you count in a small area.
Yes, and then extrapolate. Yes. Okay, fine. So, like I said, even this is not all that difficult. So, these are actual counts, and those are estimates. Okay, you have to remember that flocks may sometimes consist of multiple species. You've got to count each species separately. Stationary flocks, 400-500 birds, you can easily count. Anything larger than that, you have to do some mathematics over it. And this is an important point. Care is needed that counting doesn't disturb the birds. Nothing is more important than the birds' health, or their safety, or their security. If I'm coming too close, I'm not able to see. The bird gets disturbed, something is wrong. Back off. I'd rather not count. Right? Okay, so this is fine. Then, what do you do?
These are flying ones.
Murmuration.
What do you do? It's not a murmuration, this is ducks.
Memory squares.
This is not even a full flock, mind you. I've taken the full frame, and it's not the full flock. There are birds on the ground here, the flock extends. If I think about it, I think if I'm
And I think this is part of the total scene you have taken.
this is just a very tiny portion. How do you count?
Cannot.
How do you guess? How do you estimate? You can't.
You can't.
You can't. You've got to rely on photography. You have to rely on photography.
Rely on?
Photography. Count, mark them out. I remember I took this and I was actually marking with a pencil. How many of them are there? I came up to about 2,500, then I gave up. It was a little difficult for me. But we made a rough estimate that just the number of birds in this particular photograph, there are close to about 5,500 birds on this one frame. And this was, like I said, maybe 25-30% of the flock. Much more, much larger. And there were some places where it was even thicker. This cloud was even thicker. So
Yeah, so what you actually said that it may have been 25 to 30% is an estimate of the entire.
Yeah, it's an estimate, but again, it's a guess. We're just making a very, very rough estimate. I can't say with any certainty that it will be plus minus 5-10%. It could be out by as much as 25%. So that's where the guesswork comes.
What are those birds?
They're ducks.
From where?
This is at Pulikat.
Pulikat.
Yeah. See, the one thing that I wanted to mention when you're looking at a flock like this is don't worry about the species. You may most probably not be able to tell what the species are.
Season?
This is winter. Most of the ducks that we have come in during the winter season. So don't worry about species. I would much rather have 10,000 ducks rather than 3,000 pintails or 4,000 shovelers, or making that kind of guess. It's not easy. It's not. I wouldn't.
But what is the likelihood that there is more than one species in this?
I don't know. That's why I would rather say unidentified ducks and leave it at that. I don't know. It could be just one species. It could be every single species of duck might be there. That is known from here might be there. You don't know. Really can't tell, because see, at least in this particular one, I was shooting against the light. Birds are not so cooperative sometimes. Yeah, they don't cooperate. They sit against the sun. They're just silhouettes. You can't tell. Maybe to some extent you might be able to tell from size whether it's a duck or a teal, but that's about the best you can do. You can't do both of that. And even that is not 100% certain.
So is it okay to send a guesstimate to Netherlands? What do
Yes.
we do?
Yes, we do it all the time. Make an educated guess and try and err as much as possible on the lower side. That's the only.
No doubt. So birds can fly in different layers, right?
Right.
In your experience, what is the chance that actually when you think that you're seeing a bird, there's a bird
Above,
flying,
above it.
Above or below?
The depth of it.
depth of it.
They can be. Can be.
So that's why he said that you can earn by up to 25% also.
Okay.
See, for
Another
example,
two-dimensional thing is not seen.
See, for example, over there, I went a little further. I went that side, and there were like 5. See, this is one line. Okay, there is another line over there. I don't know if you can actually make that
No,
out.
we can't see that clearly.
Yeah, there is another line there. There is a third line behind that also. There are actually 4 lines of these ducks. So you can't tell the flock depth sometimes.
And these lines are on the ground.
These are in water. This is in
Oh,
water.
sorry, on
This
the
is all in
water.
water. It's entirely in water. See, there is a line right in front. There is another line there. There is a third line there. So it was layered out, and each line stretching from end to end.
So, and what is there in Netherlands? She was saying something.
Come to that.
Oh,
Okay, so now we've counted as much as possible. This is what we're talking about, the Asian Midwinter Waterfowl Census, which is conducted every year in January and has been going on since 1987. It takes place every year in the month of January. They prefer it in the month of January because that's when the bulk of the migrants arrive in the Asian subcontinent. Okay? It gives an impression about the wetlands, their importance for birds in different countries, because this is not just restricted to India, it's throughout the Asia Pac region. From what has already been done, we can already, I think, give a fairly decent list of the most important areas. Like for example, we know now that Kulleru is an important area, we know that Pulikat is an important area, we know Chilka is an important area, we know that the Sultanpur Jheel has become a very important area, even that sort of thing. You can come up with some facts.
so talking about this counting in the January
Yeah.
of every year, how does this really take care of the or consider the issue of migration of birds?
That's why it's done in January, because the bulk of the migrants are in by then.
They take place in January.
They arrive in India or in the southern, in the Asian region at least, by about they start arriving from November, from October, November they start coming in. By January they spread out to pretty much their entire range. That's why it's done in January. That's the best time of the year. Okay, this is what AP has. It's got 972 kilometers of shoreline. We've got rivers, we've got tanks. Pulicat becomes one of our largest, probably the second largest saltwater, brackish water lake in the country. We are blessed. We have a lot of different habitats. We have mangroves, we have reservoirs. I think I was reading somewhere that just Hyderabad alone had something close to 2,500 small or medium to small water bodies at one point. I think right now as of now, Srikakulam is the I think the most has got most number of water bodies as a district. I think we investigated that. Okay. These are the important waterbird breeding areas in AP. We have Nilapattu, which is dedicated to grey pelicans, which is spot-billed pelicans, for example, cormorants, and night herons. Punyakshetram has a large number of Asian open-billed stocks. I don't know how many of them still survive, but at one point there were close to 6,000 birds, close to about 1,500 odd breeding pairs. Timalcheru is, I think, right now just painted stocks. The open bills are not coming there anymore, but painted stocks are there in fairly large numbers. Telinilapuram has become very famous for grey pelicans and painted stocks. There's been some havoc which has been wrought now with the recent cyclone that happened, and I think the entire breeding was lost from Telinilapuram and Telikunchi. Telikunchi is full of open bills. I think 15,000 is the average is the population as of now. And then of course we have Manjira and Singur, which is close to home. You've got painted stocks breeding there, you've got ibises breeding there, river terns breed. Now even darters have started breeding there, which is a good sign. Okay, I'll quickly jump through this. I really don't think there's anything new over here. Okay, this is what figures look like. This is of course I picked up from the previous, from old this thing. But that's roughly what the International Wetlands Organization, Wetlands International is looking for. Figures like these. To answer your question about Netherlands, it's an organization called the International Wetlands Research Bureau, which has now been, I think it's been changed to Wetlands International. It's headquartered in the Netherlands, and it is the nodal agency for all waterfall counts throughout the world. Throughout the world, there are counts taking place at different times of the year, and all the figures eventually land up at Wetlands International.
And what is the expansion of AWC?
It is Asian Waterfowl Census.
So, this may be a layman's question, but waterfowl it doesn't include all the birds, yeah? It includes only the birds which are perching on the water.
It includes those birds which use water as part of their day-to-day life. It can be ducks, which are of course there. It can be cormorants, it is kingfishers, it is storks, it is herons, it is flamingos, waders, lapwings, anything that is using water on a daily basis.
So, for example, an eagle would not.
It doesn't come in. There
It
are some eagles which are very fond of water. For example, the fish eagle. It depends on water again. So there are some species which will fit in here. There are some species which will not fit in. See, if you look at it that way, every single bird is dependent on water.
Water, yeah.
If you think about it.
Every creature.
Yeah. You and I are probably also water.
Yeah.
I'll say water animals. But there are species which have been designated as water dependent. Those are the ones that form the exercise.
But you don't treat fishing eagle as a water bird?
It is. It is very much a water bird, yes. It is there.
It's not a foul.
It's not a fowl.
So you said, what is that AWC you said?
Well, the word fowl is an old English term which means any bird. Actually,
Okay.
the word fowl, F-O-W-L, is if you go to the etymology of the species of the name, I'm not sure what, but it basically encompasses all species with feathers,
Okay.
up to and including poultry. I'll share this thing with on the BSAP website, so you can go through it. Otherwise, there's a lot of information on this. That's the number of wetlands that have been counted just in 87, from 1987 through to 1996. You'll see that there are some concentrations around here. There are some areas which are not being covered. That's what we want to try and make up now. I think it's high time we start to cover areas which have not previously been looked at.
So when you say covered, you mean go there and count?
Go there and count.
Oh,
Go there and count.
Vijayanagaram has not been touched.
Or pick up people who are there,
There,
so that
yeah.
we can reach out to them and they can come forward with their observations. Okay, this is what the form looks like. How many of you have got the form with you?
oh, it's a census.
The census form. It was shared out by on the email that went out, on the invite that went out. It was shared. So this is basically what the form looks like. Just I'll just quickly run through it. Of course, the name of the site, the district, nearest class town, the altitude area, and so on. Dates are important, and the wetland type is important. Like for example, the Jirimetla Cheru, which is it's a freshwater lake and pond, and it can also be used, and it can also be given a fish pond status because it is being used now as a very large fish pond by the people who live there. It's being used is being used for pisciculture. So you can select one or two or more, 3, 4, 5, whatever, whichever best suits the wetland that you're covering. I'll come to description in a few minutes. Then you put in a photograph if you like, or if you want to draw a map. I think the easiest thing nowadays that people do is use a screen grab of use a screen grab of
Satellite.
Yeah, you can even not a satellite. You can even use the what do you call, just a map feature and just take a screenshot of the area. This is what we covered, and if you note, if you see, I've marked out 4 arrows, which is most birds seen in the marked areas. Can anyone tell me what type of census technique I might have used?
Google Maps.
No, can anyone tell me what kind of count
Point
technique
census.
I must have used? Point census.
How?
Because
Mark.
I stopped
So the way
there and counted here. I went there, I counted here. I went there, I counted here.
marked.
I went there and I counted
Acha,
here.
you made marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the lines going up. That's where it says most of the birds are seen in that area. Okay, this is what the second part of the form looks like. This is where our species are, this is where our numbers are. This is basic, just very basic. If I've got 25 birds, I put 25 species for 25 birds.
But if somebody like me, a layman who doesn't know anything about species of the bird, how do I go and come?
You go with somebody.
You go with somebody who knows. That's one thing. The second thing is that Wetlands International has got one large advantage, and that is this word, the unidentified. It doesn't, like I was saying when we were talking about the large number of ducks, if you don't know the species, don't put the species.
So the count is more important.
Count is more important than the actual species itself.
You can take a picture of that and go back and then do some kind of reverse process work.
You can do it. Whichever is most
bird later.
Whichever is most convenient to you. There's no hard and fast rule that it has to be done in the specific way. Each person might have his or her own ideas of how to do the counting. Or they may even decide, like you say, take pictures, go home and mark them out. Or if it's a small enough area, just let's see how many there are, count them and put them in and enter them into the list. It's as simple. This is what generally goes to Wetlands International from our side. It's the number of places, each species total, and eventually the total birds on site and the total number of species. So at the end of the day, you are able to tell that in such and such a year, that was the number of species, water birds seen in Andhra Pradesh, which consisted of so many species. This sheet is actually very large, but I just compressed it. Okay, so again, this is probably a little bit more important in terms of how it helps Wetlands International more than the figures. This is information that will be useful for them as for formulating strategies or plans as they go along. Okay. Of course, small basic stuff. Again, this is the wetland type, which is important, and that's where you can tell the coverage, the percentage wise. That's where the percentages come. And this is the description. If you remember what I said over here, this description is basically out here.
Percentage, what you said there, the percent of the lake what we have covered?
Percentage of the lake covered by us. 20% of the lake was covered, 25%, 50%, 5%, like that.
So but we are absolutely sure, like even at the estimate, said for 5%.
25, 30%.
So are there instances where you take a boat and go into the lake?
There is.
There is.
If it requires it, and if it requires it, if it's possible. And boats are, in a lot of places you might not have boats. But if it's available and if you think that the site requires a boat, then yes. There are some places where without a boat you actually can't come. You can't even estimate. You don't even know what is it because it's miles out in the out inside. You can't tell. All you will see is maybe a little sprinkling like bits of salt and pepper. You really can't tell what it is. So sometimes you have to have. Okay, this is basically socio-economic data. Active conservation measures are important. Whether it is protected, whether it is not. Pollution is important. Threats are important. Is there any hunting or trapping, etc., etc., etc. Basic stuff that needs to be filled in. And once we've done that, we are through to the evaluation. The form is sent to hierarchy is that the forms are then sent to the state coordinator. The state coordinator will use his or her expertise of the area to make any changes or corrections as may be required, if at all. And then those will then get compiled into your the final form that I showed you, and that is then sent out to the Asian Wetlands, to the Wetlands International at Netherlands. So that's pretty much all I had to say. I'm wide open for questions.
So when we are polluting all the water bodies with industrial effluents and other sewages and so on, many of these birds will fall down dead after a few years. So what how is this census and all that helping in reducing the pollution?
If you see, let's say lake number A, for example, in the year 2001 produced 5,000 birds. In the year 2002 it produced 4,500 birds. So on. For maybe in about 3 to 4 years you will see that the trend is going down. So it means that there is something wrong. And that's where this data comes in, because if you see over here, you will see something, pollution, hunting, trapping, threats, fish for farming, this sort of thing. All that information will eventually tell Wetlands International, okay, there is a problem, and then they will coordinate with the local agencies. It may be the forest department, it may be NGOs, it may be I think there's a convention called the Ramsar Convention now. It may be with multiple different type of people, but they will try and do their best to tell people that okay, there's a problem here, you need to look into it.
But there's nothing happening on the ground. The pollution is becoming more and more.
Many of the lakes themselves are occupied.
A lot of the lakes have been occupied now. That's
Occupied by
the
who?
issue.
Occupied by the land grabbers.
Occupied by
local
land
guys.
grabbers. There's the protected status is now only restricted to a few places. To be very honest.
I think the municipal limits of Hyderabad, there's something like 10,000 lakes, hardly 2,400 are there.
My gosh.
We have done a study on that in the geological survey. That's a sample. Most of these have been occupied. You'll be surprised. There'll be, for instance, the Ramantapur water body. It was 10 times the size, and the amount of pollution in the Ramantapur body. And because of that, you'll see much of the flooding. There was the flooding which happened in 2000. The flash flood which occupied. You'll be surprised the flooding was not in the Musi river. Musi was flowing well below the bridge. The flooding happened because of the outlets of the natural drainage of the whole environment. That was the Begumpet, Hussain Sagar, Indira Park stretch right up to Nalakunda. That was the area which got flooded. The reason was that one was plastic. One of the biggest culprits was plastic, because plastic choked the drainage system and it literally made a small dam inside the water body. Your dumped water coolers are a very big culprit, the shell of the water coolers. And the other one was that many of the places which were the natural drainage outlet of these water bodies were closed, and you had, say for instance, the big nala flowing through the Indira Park and going through the NTR stadium out. Now where is it?
Please know it.
And this went up to Nalakunta and all that. Because of the absence of the drainage, the whole stretch got flooded, and there were a couple of deaths, and it was, I know it was that day it recorded 24 hours, recorded 24 centimeters of rain, but Musi was not the culprit. The major drainage of Hyderabad is Musi. I literally visited those places, and Musi had no water had very little water in its drainage, but the Begumpet stretch, that Nala that flows through Begumpet and Hussain Sagar, that causes all that. So this has become very common. And we know who are these land
Responsible,
grabbers.
yeah.
So I mean, it is the fence eating the grass. So the story is rather sad, because the lawmaker is the lawbreaker.
Yeah.
So this Wetland International pulls the data that it gets from our country and does it send back the result?
They publish every year. I think every 3-4 years or 5 years they compile everything and publish it. I don't know, has it been happening in
Is
recent
that
times?
available somewhere or?
Lot of it is available online.
Online, yes.
And hard publication on paper is done once in 5 years
Once in
now.
5 years. So if you visit the AWC website, you should be able to find.
Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
What does it do with, let's say, you said there is unidentified, right? We tick unidentified. I wonder how they pull it eventually, unidentified birds.
They'll pull it to the extent that they will say, okay, this place seems to support large populations.
And these would be
But
the
they
problem.
don't guess species or anything.
They could also make an intelligent guess about the probable species.
No, they can't.
They can't.
They can't.
They
They're
can't.
sitting in Netherlands.
They can't. They're sitting in the Netherlands. They can't. They really cannot do that.
So they just put it down to
They'll put it as unidentified. See, for example, ducks for the most part are grazers. They use the water more for resting rather than sustenance. Right? So, but at least if you know that the area is reasonably undisturbed to the extent that 20-30,000 birds are able to
it
sit.
serves one purpose, that you know that there is a population there.
Yes. Yes.
And not deteriorated over a period of time. Even that should be a
That
good
comes through.
indicator.
That comes through. That's one of the reasons why we do it every year, and we try and make it as much as possible visiting the same sites, so that you can get a year by year picture of what's happening in the area.
But usually we don't put the entire thing as unidentified. You see, there are few ducks which are further up. So out of 2,000 we may say 250 are unidentified. It's not the entire.
Of course. That which we cannot see and
They are very far.
No, but if you are in a situation where you are not able to make out, then there is nothing wrong in saying unidentified.
Yeah.
Even if you can't identify to species level even a single one, if you can say at least that there are 3,000 ducks on the lake, I think that serves your purpose.
But you should be able to identify that it is a duck.
That's the important.
You see, that is important.
That
If
is
cormorants and then you put as ducks, then so at least that much basic knowledge you should have, so that you can bifurcate all these birds.
Who else is involved in Andhra Pradesh on this census?
The BSAP is the nodal agency, at least for AP, and we have. I think there are some people, individuals mostly, in places like Vizag and in places like Kakinada who go out and do it. But they're all somewhere or the other. I mean, eventually it all flows down to the national coordinator, the state coordinator who sits, who is a member of the BSA.
Okay, we're going to count birds in around water bodies, right? So generally, are we keeping to the edges? Or you said sometimes we take a boat. So when we take a boat, which means essentially we're going to the middle of the lake, let's say. So at that time we do a line transit. We count here left and right. Is that it?
It's a point.
It's a point.
So
It's a point transit. It's not even line. It's a point.
We go in a straight line into the lake.
Like I said, you can combine both. You can combine it. Or if you feel that there's nothing on the main lake, I'll go right up to the end. I'll count over there. That becomes a point. And if you see anything along the way, as you're driving, as you're walking along, or as you are, going along, you see things on both sides. It becomes a part of life.
I think the line transit and all that is more applicable to forested areas and grasslands rather than
on the lake.
Water.
Now, even if you take a boat and drive straight on a particular stretch,
So
that would be a
becomes
line transit.
That would still be a line. I walk along the bund of the lake. And
That
then
also is
line
a line transit.
I walk maybe 10 feet and I stop and I look around. I go a little further, stop again, look around. I'm doing a combination of line and
Line
That's
transit.
also.
What I was trying to get at is, suppose we don't get into the lake by boat, do we end up not counting the ones in the middle? Is what I want to know.
No, we do.
No.
You still count. You still count those. If
From
you're
the
able
edge.
to, if you still,
From the
yeah,
edge.
from the edge you count.
No, if they are visible.
If they are
okay.
visible.
Not visible.
Only if
visible.
they're visible, right?
They're
Yeah,
visible.
yeah. For those,
For those which are not visible, you don't know they are there.
do birds keep to the middle of the lake too, largely?
Not really.
Largely
They
towards
stay
the-
mostly in the shallows actually.
No, but you see places like Kodaru and all that, they are so widely spread in.
Kulleru you have this
Kulleru,
floating
you
islands,
have
right?
these small poles and
Yeah.
stuff that you can use to go inside. More difficult actually is Pulikat.
And they're spread to a very large geographical extent of the lake.
Yes.
In fact, minor because most of it is so shallow.
Sir, one more thing I have is there a situation where you have gone counting by flying?
I don't think we've ever done it.
If you sponsor, we will go.
No, but like low-flying aircraft or helicopter. Or
I think it's something that you can't really use it for birds because of size.
But they do it in
They do it in Africa for mammals. Yes.
Or they go by balloons.
balloon, yeah.
They go
Because
by
helicopter noise will disturb the.
Hot air balloons.
They use balloons, they use hand gliders, they use small aircraft like you say for mammals, particularly for the wildebeest migrants.
They use this microlights with very high
Microlight,
definition
yeah.
cameras. So what they do is the high definition cameras. They capture they go by a grid pattern. You know grid pattern?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't.
So it's like a grid pattern is just a square.
When I said imaginary space, right?
So that is, as per a GPS, they make a grid pattern and they fly according to that, take high definition pictures at that time of the day, and then that is again done on the same date, same time of the day, another day, and they make a count.
Can you see that lake, Foxsagar picture? Do you have any Pulicat pictures in our
Exactly. Pulicat, the picture, I actually don't have a picture, but here's Foxsagar. That's Foxsagar.
Here we made point cells, right?
Yeah.
Would it be ethical for us, sort of having
This is the top one.
if we are sort of lining it up like this way, 1, 2, 3, in case there are holes
Both
inside
sides.
the
Okay.
lake,
Okay.
and simultaneously 5 sets of people move from one
I see what you.
yeah,
One bank to the other
I
bank.
get it. I get it. But
then do
you've
the
got,
line transect. Would that be any more beneficial than
you've got to. You have to.
Sir, I
set a
didn't
lot-
understand his question, sir.
No, his question is that if there are, let's say, 5 teams of people, you pick up 5 points, and 5 teams start off.
Take a boat.
Take a boat or walk or whatever. 5 teams start at the same time together, and they're doing on both sides of the area that they're going on. So yes, you can have 5, 6, 7 teams, doesn't matter. But you've got to define your cutoff points areas very carefully. Because otherwise you'll have, I counted here, the next person, I counted something here, the next person who's next to me, he's also counting the same thing, you can end up having double count.
No, so he's suggesting a multiple team approach only to save time. No, not for any other reason.
no, for accurate, more
For
accurate?
more accuracy,
How-
it
wider
depends.
coverage.
If you
Wider.
wider coverage, you've got larger, if you've got, this is of course this is a small lake,
Small lake,
but
yeah.
there may be larger lakes
Yes.
where you will have multiple teams counting. And then yes, it is beneficial, but you've got to demarcate your areas very carefully. Otherwise you end up having double.
I think that's the approach we have used for at Chitkur and others for animal census.
Yes. You had large number of teams
Yeah.
going out, and each area had
We
been
were close to 40
demarcated
people who
very-
covered that road.
Right.
Waterfall census is actually one of the easiest form of census because visibility is almost 100%. There is no mountain, there is no tree, there is no grassland that you are counting.
The ability to count and
So your ability to cover an area, how much is the sort of thing which makes or breaks a census in an area, how much you cover. And these are ponds basically, they are not even lakes, we give them high sounding names. Lakes are like Pulicat, lakes are like in Kashmir, Rokar Sagar, 25 square kilometers, 50 square kilometers. I mean, how do you count them? Even if you put 15 teams on that lake, you won't be able to count.
Still won't be able to cover.
You'll be surprised that though the census started in 87, I personally believe that not even 80% of our waterfowl is counted. Because there's nobody goes to Pulicat. How many people go to Pulicat? Who goes to Chilka? One team of BNHS is there. How much will they cover? And unless this census thing comes up as a wellspring from the people around and living in the area, from Hyderabad, how many people can go to various parts of Andhra Pradesh to come?
So what is the bird watchers society doing in terms of capacity building of other areas of Andhra Pradesh instead of every time going from Hyderabad and doing it?
We'll let the committee answer that question.
No, not committee. It is not our sort of ambit to go and train people in various places. We are based here. We are a small organization which is not funded by anyone. And we are all amateurs. We are, it's a passion and a pastime. It's not a paid job. We are not professionals at it. So what we do is, through our society, we may have made ordinary people like you into accomplished bird watchers, and we may have made at least 200 such people over the years. Now it's up to you to do, whether you want to go where you are posted, if you want to carry on bird watching or not, and what you do, carrying what you learned from the BSAP in, let us say, Vizag, is up to you. So we have created a person, or we have created an interest in you in birds, and it's your ability whether you are doing something about it or not.
So to train the trainer. We have trained the trainer, and it's trainer's job to train himself and others.
So you create,
You create
people
interest.
around you, and
You create
do something.
interest. You create interest, and then the person has to, the interest has to sustain the interest, the person has to take it further.
And he has to have some basic knowledge in identifying birds. Not very expert, but fundamental, as you can see from that list.
At least you should have at least 2 or 3. You can.
So we can't ask anybody to go and do it. Somebody has to
Yes,
go
sir.
there to Vizag. Now we are all working people. Who has got the time to? They may go for 1 weekend, but if you don't cover the entire Andhra Pradesh, you require a lot of time. And if you want to cover it in a shorter time, then you will require more teams.
And you will be pleasantly surprised to know that AP is one of the most active of participants.
These participants, yeah. That's actually the.
BC was telling
It is a fact.
that it is not being done in the rest of India.
Sustaining interest,
Very little, I understand.
it is like this. How can you sustain interest? I mean, you are so passionate about it that irrespective of anything, you go and do it. Or you keep getting feedback about it that, this year, this was the count, these were the participants. Some sort of moral boosting type of thing that, yes, what we did, the world is seeing. It doesn't happen, it all requires a lot of money, which our government does. First of all, the government doesn't participate in it. It's all individuals and organizations who do it on their own interest. It certainly doesn't, it only participates in human census.
Guru, you had a question?
How much of Hyderabad wetlands are we planning to cover this year?
How many are we planning to cover?
This season, what percent at least we will try to cover?
Last year, 2013, we did close to 27 areas, which I think is probably one of the highest
No, and
that
those
has
we
been
will
seen.
repeat.
But we will repeat those and get as many more as we can to the bar.
So, but when most of the wetlands all over the country are not being covered, in absolute terms, the so-called census or so-called counting doesn't make any sense. What is going to Netherlands?
It's not going to happen over a couple of years.
So that's where the
Cross
exploration
20, 30,
becomes.
35, 40 years. Eventually you will get a picture. But again, it comes back to it. I mean, if people, it's individual. It depends on the individuals. Wetlands International also is a non-government. Depends on people. Depends on
So how does
ABC.
one volunteer to count? Do you have to become member of some society?
No, there's no
Anybody
order.
can do it.
Anybody can do it. Anyone can do it.
Identify.
Yes.
Is Bird Society of AB is doing anything for sensitizing or giving awareness to children?
If the children come forward, yes. If there is anybody, or if you want
Yes,
somebody to come to the.
Generally, I work with children. Generally on environment. Our activities are just to sensitize them to live an environmental friendly life. So I want them. Many people don't know at least they don't have the habit at all. They just see the all now photos have come, all artificial we are seeing. So I want them, the eco tools to have this way, When you are counting birds, you can take, make eco tree towards that area.
Yeah, that can certainly be looked at.
So he is
but then
welcome to bring
you're
2 or
welcome,
3
you're
children
welcome to bring
each of
3 or
the
4 children, 5, 6 children.
Contact Shafat
But
Saab.
you can
How
contact.
old are the children you're talking about?
What's up?
7, 8, 9, 10. No, most of this are many. There are many. Yeah, many school children are there.
So many can't come.
Many
to
can't
our
come
senses.
because
No, not the
census-
counting
I mean to
part.
say,
He's probably not talking in terms of the census part. He's talking of how we could probably sensitize his
Yes.
his.
Any activity which society is doing, maybe counting anything where each we can make 4, 5 modules. Some who wants to when the census count is there, how many people are there from this school, that school. I mean, we can make a limited count. Who can just literally travel.
No,
down there.
the better thing would be as we have. I think we have done it in a few cases. That's what once Tapasa was telling
We
me.
do it, you see, for a Neeraj public school instance,
Yeah.
for instance. The principal invited us there to talk to the children. So we have got a software or PowerPoint presentation for these young children. Already one Mr. JVD Murthy, one of our senior vendors. So we went and talked to them for about 1.5 hours or so. That is the classroom talk. Then they provided a bus, then we went out, bird watching. There's a practical this thing at Shamilpet. So
Cantonment.
then then we have done it for the army.
The water bodies are very close, like Hussain Sagar or Usman Sagar and all that. If you could gather a few children, ask us, some of us will all happily come forward and spend a few hours.
We don't have the infrastructure to take your children anywhere. That you will have to.
No, I mean that you have infrastructure. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't work with the hi-fi schools. I work with the moderate
No, whatever,
schools where generally they don't have even this facility of bus also. So I am more concerned. They are very more receptive than the other school children because I have been with children for many years now. So they are more receptive than other school children. So some do just for hobby, and these people are really curious to to do something. Though their economic condition is not so good.
No, you can keep in touch with our society.
Yes,
Sure.
you can make a
Our
invitation.
website is there.
Yeah.
You go to the website, the programs are given. And we have one outing, one Sunday in a month.
Okay.
One Sunday in every month, we go out somewhere or the other.
Okay, sir.
So your boys, girls, whatever, are most welcome to come along, and if you can make arrangements. Usually what happens is parents are the main people who can encourage their, so if they can bring them along, because it's very difficult for us to take care of the children. Somebody should be
Okay, that will
responsible for the
yes, that
well-being.
that I will take care. That part will be taken care.
Yeah, so they can come with us, and one of us who's a little senior in birding and all that, we can talk to them, show them.
That will be very.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, but it is not a one-time learning process, as you will know. What you can also do is you can join the society or come on our outing for over a year or so, and you become a resource person for your children.
Yeah, I want to be on forefront, never in the group. I always want to lead myself. So if I don't take the interest and say just drive them, go there and see this, it's never going to happen. Children are very smart,
So how many teams are we dividing? Like any idea?
I suggest you as an individual,
I think there is
become a
about
member of the society.
about 30 people who
So
have
that
volunteered.
regularly get our mails and
The thing is that we don't want to make teams larger than about 4 to 5 people.
from Nizamabad.
Because after anything beyond that, it becomes one, it becomes,
So
there is a
then
possibility
you
of double
you
count.
come with us for
And
about
secondly,
4,
also
5, 6
disturbs
outings.
Then I'll have
Then you
some.
become a little familiar with the bird yourself.
So 5 maximum, 5 is the maximum.
The data that we collect, we share it with the government, forest department. Do we give it to them?
I generally like to present it to the forest department. Whether it is used or not is a different matter, but yes, I do. I always send a copy
We
to
do that.
the principal chief master.
No, but it is the forest department
We can
people
take
who are
the-
supposed to be doing the
There
census.
is a lot of suppositions here. They are supposed to do a
They
lot
are
of
not doing
things.
their duty, sir. It is part of their duty.
I
No, it is
completely-
not their duty.
It is not.
Forest
Forest
department's duty is
department
to
is
take
due
care of
to
the
take care of the
forest.
forest.
income from the lumber. That's it. That is the fact. That is the fact. The forest department is trained how to extract revenue from the forest.
Unfortunately, they are not even equipped to take care of forests also. That's unfortunate.
That's a different part.
Forest laws, forest conservation laws.
But yes.
5 members can cover Pilkat Lake.
Likat Lake, I think even